Is Bali worth visiting or is it overrated and overhyped? So that's what this video is about today. As many of you know, Jake and I went to Bali in May, June. I've kind of sat for a bit on making this video because I wanted to mull over my thoughts and also talk to people who have recently been to Bali and or know someone who has recently been. And surprisingly, every single person I talk to, they 100% agree with what I'm about to say, which was surprising just because of the picture that's painted on social media. And I mean, we all see it on Pinterest, Instagram, etc. Bloggers, Instagrammers, they all love Bali and they all rave about it. So I wanted to make a video that's not for the 20 something Instagrammer. I wanted to make a video for, is Bali worth visiting for the average tourist? So, and by the way, you'll see my computer here. I wrote a blog post on this, so I'll be referencing this just to make sure I don't miss anything. But short answer, is Bali worth visiting? No. Especially if you're an American or if you live on the Western Hemisphere. It's just not worth the travel time. It's too far away, and there are much better places closer to home that you could visit. I think for Americans, I mean, it's a minimum of a 20-plus hour flight to get to Bali. So pretty much anyone in the Western Hemisphere, it's not worth the travel time. Even if you're in Europe, I would still say it's not worth the travel time. If you're a little bit closer to home, if you live in Australia, Southeast Asia, Japan, China, we even saw a lot of people from India. If you live in those places and you're closer to Bali, maybe it's worth it. Maybe. Even if I lived in Australia, I would maybe go to Bali once. I don't think I would return. So that is that. Also, people that would maybe like Bali, backpackers, people looking for an ultra cheap destination, which mind you, it's not as cheap as it used to be. Who else would like Bali? 20 something Instagrammers looking for all those perfect Instagram shots, even if it doesn't look like that in real life. And probably maybe yogis would enjoy Bali because it is quite a yoga scene, especially in Ubud. But outside of that, if you are none of those things and you are what you would call yourself an average tourist traveler, then this video is for you. If you are any of those things, this video probably is not for you. So that's the short answer of, is Bali worth visiting? So now let's go into the pros and cons, because there are pros and cons to any destination. So even though I don't recommend Bali, and I honestly wish I had chosen somewhere else to visit for that vacation time, I mean, we still had a good time. So there are pluses to Bali. So let's start with the positives before I go into the negatives. So first of all, as we all know, Bali is cheap. Is it as cheap as it used to be? Definitely not. But I would say maybe, like when you look at restaurants are maybe like half the price that you would pay in America. So if you go to a, top coffee shop in Seminyak, your flat white will be $2.30 probably. So that's about half what you pay in America. Jake and I could easily eat dinners where we're ordering like a whole fish and lots of food, not drinking, but I mean, our dinner would be easily $30 to $50, maybe 60. So definitely on the cheaper end. An hour cab ride, you're looking at $20. Also, the five-star hotels, easily find a five-star hotel, $250 to $500 range. Of course, there are more expensive ones like the Ritz Mandapa. I think it's like $1,200 a night. Four Seasons starts at about $2,000. So you can go crazy, but you can easily find a five-star hotel in Bali for under $500 a night. So it is affordable. The spa treatments are also very affordable. Is it a five-star hotel atmosphere? No, but like in Seminyak, we went to some casual spots, did like a 3.5 spa day where it was like a body scrub, deep tissue massage, facial. I think it was $100 each after tax and tip for 3.5 hours of treatments. So yes, Bali is cheap. The hotels are great. Also, Bali is extremely safe. I mean, we never felt uneasy. And talking to our tour guide one day, he was talking about how Bali has always been extremely safe. They have had a little bit of petty theft, like pickpocketing and just a few scams and just theft. Kind of once Bali has risen up in the tourist world and they started getting immigrants and people from other countries coming to Bali to take advantage of Bali's rise in tourism. So sadly, they have started seeing a little bit of crime, but 9 times out of 10, it's not the Balinese people. So it is very safe. Also, the culture is very cool. One of the coolest things Jake and I did on the trip was attending a Balinese dance performance. I mean, their culture is just so different. So in Bali, it's rooted in Balinese Hinduism. So 85% of the population adheres to a mixture of Buddhism, Hinduism, and spiritual like local traditions. Like for example, like this tiny island has 20,000 temples. So this is very important to the Balinese people, and you see it in all aspects of their life. So that is very cool. Really enjoyed the culture. Okay, so those are the negative or the positives in a nutshell. Now for the negatives. So I think the biggest negative are the sights. They're very underwhelming. And this is something that everybody I spoke to agreed with me on. And that's the big reason why you travel is you travel not just for the cool hotels, but you travel for the sights and the culture and, all that stuff. So not one site we went to in Bali was mind blowing. It was nothing like Japan, Europe. I mean, just the sites we went to just felt a little worse for the wear, and they just weren't that exciting. So, for example, and I kind of knew this going into, and when I started planning what we were going to do on a day to day basis, the sites we were going to see, the tours I was going to book, that's when I started second guessing our choice to go to Bali, because like starting to do deeper dives into the sites, looking at Google Photos, reading more thoroughly through reviews, I started realizing these sites don't look that exciting and the traffic to get there is horrendous and it's just kind of meh. And honestly, my worries were warranted. Like none of the sites we went to were mind blowing and honestly worth the time to go. So, for example, one of our day trips we did was with a private driver. Again, Bali's very cheap, so it was like $100 for an all day private tour. And so we visited all the top water temples. I think it was four temples, and then the one of the popular rice fields. I can never pronounce the name. I mean, they're just kind of okay. And the thing with the temples is it's a quick visit. It's not like when you go to a castle or you go to a cathedral, you can go inside and like look at all the stuff and everything's so ornate. Like the temples are more these kind of outside complexes where you just kind of wander around and look at the buildings, or you look at the scenery that the temple is built around. Like that's kind of it. Like you're not, I mean, every single temple we went to, it maybe took 20 minutes, and again, you're just kind of wandering around the outside. And after a while, all the temples also start to feel kind of the same, like they're all very similar. So, but even though we've only, went to four of the many, many temples, after that day trip, we were like, okay, we're good. We got like the Balinese temples. So that's for the sites. Even like the rice fields, which are another, popular aspect of Bali, even the rice fields, they were pretty, but like again, was it worth traveling all that way to see? No. And there's a lot of Instagram traps, which we'll get into later. So overall, sites, I mean, nothing thrilling. Okay, so now next, traffic is horrendous. And this is another reason why I think the sites need to be worth it to see, because you will be sitting in traffic to see the sites. The traffic in Bali is horrendous. This is known. Their infrastructure is not meant for all the tourists. Like many of the roads, I mean, you have one tiny road, and that is supposed to fit two-way traffic, a big bus, 10 scooters zooming in out of people on bikes, pedestrians on the side of the road because there's no sidewalks. I mean, the traffic is just not good. Now, when you leave, the cities, yes, it gets better, but you'll be traveling a lot in a car if you want to see a lot of Bali and expect to get stuck in traffic. So traffic is horrendous. Okay, so going on beyond the traffic, and so this shouldn't be surprising with crazy traffic, is that the cities just feel kind of hectic and dirty. So Bali is not a place, at least the cities. We went to Seminyak, Ubud, Nusa Dua. They're just not enjoyable to wander around. This is not a Sevilla. This is not a typical European city where you can just wander around and it's so enjoyable and so many photo opportunities. No. I mean, most of the cities are kind of dirty. there's not trash, flooding the streets like some, articles I've read about talk about. But I mean, there is trash. It just kind of feels dirty. There's power lines everywhere. It's very hectic. And like I said, like the streets, I mean, you have to have your head on a swivel. Otherwise, you're going to get run over. I mean, the streets, you're lucky if you get a sidewalk. And if there is a sidewalk, it is not in good shape. So you're kind of going in and out of the street a lot. There's some pedestrian areas, kind of, but not really. So it's just not super enjoyable. I mean, it's not really picturesque. It's not, you kind of go into Seminyak once. I thought we would be going in multiple times because we were in Seminyak for 4 days. We went in once and we were like, that is plenty for us. Like, we do not need to go back. It's just hectic. It's dirty. There's power lines everywhere. There's cars. There's scooters. It's just not an enjoyable place to wander around. So let's see what's next. Oh, yes, the beaches and the trash. So if you think you'll be swimming in the ocean in Bali, maybe think again. So at least where we stayed. So in Seminyak, which is the west side of Bali, that part you can't really even get in the water because the currents are so strong. And I mean, those waves pound constantly. And there are warnings everywhere. Do not get in the water, strong currents. We would maybe see locals get in the water, like a couple when the beach is filled with people. We would maybe see a couple locals like wade in the water at sunset when it was the calmest. But outside of that, no. Now, I do hear that Canggu is very popular for surfers. So I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you have to be a pretty good surfer to go out in that water. And maybe the currents are a little bit less crazy up north in Canggu than Seminyak. But yeah, if you're going to Seminyak, you will not be getting in the water. Then on the other side of Bali, so that's Nusa Dua, and that's where all the resorts are, there was trash in like everywhere on any beach that was not managed by a luxury resort was filled with trash. So we were staying at the Kapinski, and like literally the moment we left the private beach of the Kapinski, trash everywhere. And there's trash in the water too. So, the resorts, they have employees that are picking up trash 24/7. So it keeps the beach, pretty clean. I mean, you're going to find some trash here and there because there's only so much they can do. But you're not going to get in the water because they're not cleaning the ocean. So, I mean, I would wade in a couple times. Like, I'd walk up there multiple times every day just to see at any point, is the water clear enough to get into? No. And I'm talking like there are sandals, plastic forks, food containers, bottle. I mean, it's just trash that you're like, ugh, yeah, I'm not going to get in there. And that's like another thing too with like snorkeling. Like, I had thought about doing a snorkeling excursion because I heard snorkeling is great in Bali. But again, when you go deeper into the reviews, you start reading people complaining snorkeling was great, but getting in and out of the water was gross because of all the trash. So now moving on from the trash in the ocean, the other negative that was kind of frustrating with Bali is how it has capitalized on the Instagram train. So, for example, when we were in Tagalanglang rice field, which is like one of the most popular rice fields, you would see these like Instagram setups that I know you've seen these photos on Instagram because they look so cool. It's like a bird's nest that you sit in, and then when you take the photo, it's like this beautiful backdrop. And then there's a swing over here where you get in the swing, and then again, you take the photo. And it's this beautiful, like, rice field in the background. So after seeing those setups, I'm like, okay, now I see why there are so many Instagrammable photos of Bali, because Bali has put up these Instagram photo sites kind of like all over the place. So it's like the Tagalanglang rice fields were still really cool and we enjoyed walking around them, but it just kind of made it feel cheap and just took away from the whole experience. So I'm like, okay, I guess, bravo for Bali for capitalizing on that and, making some money because it's obviously worked, because look at all the people, myself included, that have visited Bali because we thought it was so beautiful with these Instagram photos. But for a real life experience, it's one of those things you get there and you're like, oh, okay.
One thing I want to talk about, and we kind of knew this going in, but the Instagram traps of Bali. So, like, for example, you see the swing And the nest, Bali has very much capitalized on that Instagram shot. And we have noticed that many sites that you go to, they're not that great, but you can get a great Instagram photo. So a lot of times it's a bit of a letdown. So just FYI.
So there's the Instagram whole setup. Also, lastly, Bali Belly. It's real. Jake and I never get sick on vacations. I don't know if we just have really hearty stomachs or what, but even when we've gone to like, South Africa, Morocco, places where everyone that we've talked to, like they all got sick and food poisoning, like we've never had issues. We both got Bali belly like back to back. Was it the end of the world? No, but you just like felt nauseous and had no appetite and were kind of weak for about 2 days. So not the end of the world. But I think that's just kind of telling because Jake and I were very careful. We only ate at, the 5-star hotels we were staying at and the top restaurants. So it's not like we were eating street food or anything and not being careful. So it was kind of surprising that we both got Bali belly. So that's another thing. So the last part that I will talk about is there anything that would have improved our trip? Because I'm sure there's going to be people that watch this and say, well, you just didn't do it right. Okay, so number one, we did not stay at any of the like crazy hotels. Like I said earlier, the Ritz Mondapa, 12 to 1500 minimum a night. The Four Seasons, you're starting at 2000 a night. Capella, there's a couple really really nice hotels. We did not stay at any of those hotels. First of all, we just don't spend that on hotels to begin with. But even if we did, part of the reason why we flew so far to go to Bali was because it's such an affordable getaway. Like, I'm not going to pay $1,500 plus a night to stay at a hotel in Southeast Asia. Like, I'm not. It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm sure if we had stayed at one of those, published hotels that's all over Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler, I'm sure we would have had a better experience because, of course, you're going to have an amazing time at a $2,000 a night hotel. So that's one thing. And also, we did not go to any of the islands around Bali. So I have heard that there are some really nice, beautiful islands around Bali. One of those examples is Sumba Island. But we didn't do that because honestly, it was such a trek to get to Bali. The last thing I wanted to do was to have us have to get on another flight to reach a small island and then have to take another flight to get back to the main island to then, depart Bali. It's such a far trek to begin with. Adding another segment that required flight time just, I don't know, it just didn't sound great. But going back, I'm like, maybe we should have because we didn't love the main island of Bali. And like some of those islands look really nice. But those are really the only two things I can think of that maybe would have improved our experience. So there you have it. Those are my overall thoughts on whether I think Bali is worth visiting or not. And if it's overhyped and overrated, which I think it is. So, in short, I think for the average tourist, it's not worth visiting. Especially if you don't live anywhere near Bali, like you don't live in Australia or elsewhere in Southeast Asia or Japan or India. For Americans, for anyone on the Western Hemisphere, for Europeans, I don't think it's worth the travel time. I think there are much better places closer to home that you could visit and spend your vacation days. So that is my summary.